So, hey, we need to talk. I've been thinking for some time if I could leverage AI for translating my personal projects. It hasn't been feasible for quite some time, but with the APIs and the quality which AI provides today, I think it becomes very reasonable to do so. Also, I think what makes me a good person to record this video is that I speak 5 languages and I can give an educated guess about the quality of translations. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I've built my personal website and I wanted to have a website for my music for quite some time. So this is basically what we're gonna be working with. It's the React application, which contains 3 different routes: the homepage, the about page, and the discography page. It's very simple, and if you go into the source code, you see that it's very basic boilerplate application created with Vite. And I used a couple of extras here. So first I have used React root random, and I have also used i18n next library. Basically, it allows me to store translations into the JSONs, and I'm gonna show you how it looks. So basically, I have different translation files stored into JSON files, and once I initialize the application, I choose English as the default language, and then once you try to change something here, it's gonna change the language. At the moment, the application doesn't contain like any automatic language identification, even though it's not hard to do, but it's just unnecessary for this example to have. What I want to make clear that basically the whole text of this application is being stored into various JSON files. I'm using English as default language for all translations. And if I'm gonna go here and open end.json, you can see that basically we have all English text here. So it's the source text. I prefer to use keys as translations themselves. So for English language, it's usually the same, and in JSON, you can see that key and values are the same. But for the bigger strings, I use keys, which are different because it's making it so much easier to see it in the code, and it's just easier to manage those translation strings. I'm gonna show how it looks. If I'm open about page, you can see that it's very small and manageable piece of code here. So the application is very simple. Like there is nothing special going on. I can open like my discography. I can open some album, and I can go ahead and play some song. And I made those very simple player on the right hand side here. So we gonna try to automate the translation here. Like obviously I can see that I already got some translation strings here, but before I'm gonna try to go ahead and explain you the concept. So some strings are simple. They basically words and translation of the word, or a couple of words. But we also have translation strings with variables. Like we have the version here. And if I'm gonna go to the root, you can see that I'm using like those translation strings here. Like they're being displayed in this imitation of the bottom summary of the window. And I pass the variable value as the second argument. So obviously I want AI to ignore like those tiny bits of the variable, and that's what was previously hard to achieve with other translation APIs for me. But with AI, it's so much easier, and I'm gonna show you in a second. What we care also about is bigger text. I purposefully chosen the project where we have longer pieces of text, and I'm gonna see how well they are translated, and we're gonna see if it's usable. The main goal here is to automate it all together, so I don't have to put the efforts of continuously reading and verifying translation strings. I just want to make sure that it's one-off. I run the script, and afterwards my languages are being maintained by AI alone, and I don't care about it any longer. I have multiple ways of achieving it. One of them is doing everything on a pipeline, which is more scalable and bulletproof solution. It's gonna work better when you have multiple customers, and especially if you have different applications and you want to reuse translation strings between them. That's not the case for me. I'm gonna be deploying my website on Netlify. I'm working on it alone, and I really don't want to have any complicated pipelines as well. I don't want to think how pipeline is gonna modify the codes in my GitHub repository, because otherwise I will have to translate it every time I deploy something, and it's gonna be a little bit expensive. I don't want to go this way. And also, in case of Netlify and other similar solutions, you pay for minutes of the pipeline. So waiting every time you build for your pipeline to translate your translation strings is going to be rather expensive. So I decided to go ahead and try to do this locally, but still in automated way. And if I want to automate something locally, the most reasonable solution which I could find is using Git hooks. If you didn't use Git hooks before, basically we can run different codes before a commit, after commit, before you push. Usually it's being used to either prevent you from pushing not tested codes or not linted codes, or oppositely, you can run it to format your code before you push to enforce like automatic code style. But we're gonna use it for something different today. So if you haven't used Husky before, it basically enables us to use Git hooks in a very easy way in Node.js environment, and React application is pretty much Node.js environment. So I already did it on my project, and I'm now gonna show you like copy and pasting all those commands. I just want to put the accents that it's very important to do this part of the script. It's gonna make sure that every time you pull the project on another machine, it's gonna automatically initiate your Git hooks, and you won't have to do it manually later. And you can take a look how you can create different commands. Like in this specific case, it is pre-commit, and that's exactly what we are looking for. But we are not going to be running npm test, and I'm going to show how it looks like. If you have created Husky properly, you're going to have like a folder like .husky. Okay, let's take a look. How does it work? We have our scripts object in package.json, and we have fetch translation script. Under the hood is just calling one simple file. We have Node.js create fetch translations.js, which is gonna do the whole magic. And I want to reiterate that we run it every time we are trying to commit something. So you type git commit your message, you're gonna start fetching all translations, and once you are done, you're gonna add all translation files to commit. It's very important to write what files you want to add explicitly and not do just like git add dot. Otherwise, it's gonna ignore your preference. Imagine you have multiple staged files, but you want to commit only a couple of them. Like this is gonna effectively override it if you use git add dot. Let's take a look into the script itself. A lot of things here can be improved. It is just demonstration of the concept, so don't expect way too much of it. We have the list of languages in a constant. We have name of the model we're going to be using. I don't have access for GPT-4 at the moment of recording of this video, so I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo. And I have my folder with translations. I want the source language, in our case, English, as the website has been built in English originally. And I initialize OpenAI API with my key. OpenAI key, which I have stored in my environment variable. Then I synchronously iterate over my languages. We have this constant above it. And I send multiple requests to the OpenAI. First, I send the system request. That's basically enabling us to have some context for the API, where I say you should translate files values. It's very important to specify values. We don't want to translate the keys. We want keys to remain the same. So we want to translate values to the language which is currently being iterated, and we want to respond only with JSON. Again, I want to highlight this as well, because we don't want to do any operations on the files. We want to make sure that like we get something what we can just put back into the file without like any parsing, scrapping whatsoever. And now we have user message. In our case, is just the JSON file contents. We don't need to specify any context because our bot already expecting us to get JSON. So then we use OpenAI create chat completion. I didn't manage to succeed with regular completion. There is create completion. I also didn't succeed with edit API. neither of those worked with the Model GPT 3.5 Turbo. And if I'm missing something obvious, please let me know in the comments. So yeah, we send all this stuff, we wait for results, and we write it into the folder with the name of respective language we have just obtained. Now, there is a lot to be improved. First of all, like all this thing is happening asynchronously. You can see that we are waiting for the result. And it's taking a lot of time, to be honest. Like every language is taking around 1 minute to complete, even though, as we have seen here, it's pretty small. So imagine if we had 100 translation strings or 1000 translation strings, it's gonna be much bigger. Keep in mind the maximum token limitation. Like you could not feed like a large 1000 translation strings file into OpenAI because you have token limitation. So you have to split it in different chunks and send chunks for translation, which is not gonna be instant by any means. So making the script asynchronous really matters. And that's what I'm gonna do in foreseeable future. I'm just gonna make this whole thing asynchronous. Next, you really want to identify the changes. You can do it in multiple ways. You can see the Git changes and act based on Git changes. You can compare like end.json to any other JSON and see what have changed, was the diff, and send only diff for translation. But that's very important to think about those cases, because currently it's taking around 5 minutes for me to commit, and it can be definitely improved. So now, there are a couple of questions which I'm pretty sure you're wondering. First is, how much does it cost? I don't have my OpenAI free tier, and I've been using paid API. I tried to translate everything around 10 times already, and that's what I paid. I paid 6 cents this month, most of which I paid while debugging this whole script, so it's pretty cheap. And today I sent 3 requests to translate the whole thing into 4 different languages, and I paid 2 cents for the whole thing, which is dirt cheap. So from financial perspective, it's definitely making sense, and I think that I'm getting insane value from using it. Another thing which I was wondering about, and I'm pretty sure most of you were wondering about, is the quality of translations themselves. So let's take a look at the website again. I have fetched translations for different languages, and I'm gonna start with Ukrainian, which is my mother tongue. And I already see some minor inconveniences here. For example, I have, instead of art, I have painter. Basically, it's being translated backwards as painter, which is understandable. Like, AI didn't have enough context to see what does it really mean, but it's not what I'm gonna go and use. So I either should write something like album art in the whole translation string, and that I'm pretty sure it's gonna get it right. But if you have something that really needs context to get translated, it's still not good. Now, if I go to the page where I have text written about me as a musician, I can see that it's okay. I have no concerns using it in general. Like, it's definitely not worse than what I could have gotten from Google Translate, for example. But there is inconsistency between different operations. What do I mean? Like, if I'm gonna go ahead and send it for translation again, it's not gonna be deterministic. Like, every time I send it to AI to translate, I get different results. And some of the attempts are noticeably better or worse for some specific parts of the text than other ones. I remember that I had my name being getted wrong before, like it's gotten my name wrong. And I also had some facts being invented by AI, like something what is not even written in the text originally, it has been added by AI. And that's not very good. So that's another argument in favor of using some kind of verification of what you have already translated and ignoring those strings explicitly, because you can't be sure that what you liked before is gonna remain good if you send the request again. Like you have to go and re-evaluate the whole thing. So basically, I'm gonna switch to Dutch because it's pretty much Latin and you can attempt reading it. And I'm gonna comment out other languages just to make it faster. So we're gonna refresh the Dutch translation and we're gonna see if we're gonna get different stuff here. So we're gonna start sending requests for Dutch. It's gonna take some time while I'm talking about it. And I want to take a look into the Dutch translation as well. It's generally good. Like I had a chance to look into Dutch, I had a chance to go and review the Polish one, and I feel very good about them. Also, in some time I checked Russian one and it was good enough as well. But we can see that it's all good. Art has been translated as art, not like album art, but as art. I don't know how to explain it in English, but as this kind of activity of creating something. But the rest is good enough. If I go to description about myself, it's also good enough. So no concerns here. And if we go back to Dutch, we have gotten our Dutch translations back, and I have live reward, so I can go ahead and see it here. We can see that something has changed. We have artist is not like art, but the person who creates art, which is the same issue we had in Ukrainian before. And if I go here, I definitely see that it has changed just a tiny bit, but it's not exactly the same. So the results aren't deterministic, and please keep it in mind. Okay, let's summarize our experience today. Am I happy with the results? Absolutely. It was fast, it was cheap, and I got my website translated. Am I happy with the quality? Yes, I mean, it's pretty good. It needs polishing here and there, but even without it, I don't really mind to put it on the internet. There is nothing criminal about it. Also, I anticipate the quality to improve. I tried to poke GPT-4 in ChatGPT, and it provided me with better results. So I'm really waiting forward to get my API access and try it again. Would I use it on a big projects? Yes, I think that big projects are definitely gonna benefit from it as well. I would change the approach. I wouldn't use Git hooks because it's not very scalable, and you don't want to ruin the developer experience by making your developers wait for 20 minutes to commit your code. That's gonna be excessive, but if you do it on a pipeline or you have some server which is going to run a cron job or something like this, you're gonna massively benefit from it as well. And regardless how big your JSON file, I don't really anticipate you to spill over a couple of dollars per iteration to translate everything, and it's by no means comparable for what you would get paid to translator company. And to wrap it up about translators companies, you have people working there and they are not always having the necessary context as well, which means that they're gonna be making mistakes as well. And you still have to polish translations which you got from translator company as well. So you have the similar trade-offs in both scenarios, and I think that what we've done today definitely deserves more careful look and consideration, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the results. Thank you everybody for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.